and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel, doing a wee second video for today to kind of summarise the recent Brendan Rodgers press conference and what his thoughts were regarding the Aberdeen game at the weekend and the preparation for the game tomorrow at Hibs, which will be live on TV. Now, was quite an interesting press conference. The questions weren't very probing, which, as I've said to a few of you in the comment section, really disappoints me. There's so rarely ever any hard questions, so rarely any questions that really probe Rodgers, and never any kind of follow-ups to get him to say why, how, when, what, etc., why it went wrong, who's making it better, what have you done to make it better, why didn't Celtic play with the same fire and aggression in the second half as they did in the first, why are we missing so many chances, why is Kyogo looking like he's not very confident, how has Gustav Lagerbielke been in training, has he settled down, because he clearly was very upset at having his transfer to Lecce being blocked at the last second. The story being he was practically at the airport with his suitcase ready to fly off for final talks in Italy when Rodgers cancelled the transfer. So there were lots of questions not asked and lots of follow-ups not asked. However, Rodgers kind of batted away that there was any real pressure on him, the club, or the players. He said, yep, they'd analysed the game against Aberdeen at the weekend and they looked at where things had gone wrong, but they weren't dwelling on mistakes. They're looking forward to how they were going to play against Hibs. I think in football and in life, you do need to look back at mistakes you've made and put things in place to stop it happening, i.e. If it looks like we are a bit short of pace in central defence, are we going to change the central defensive partnership, or are we going to get Scales and Nawrocki to hang back more, not push forward into the opposition half, and let any pushing forward be down to the midfielders or the fullbacks, or are we going to keep one of the midfielders back in a more defensive position so that covers for any lack of pace in central defence? Certainly Callum McGregor has tremendous pace and endurance and quite often does track back to be that extra defender. Similarly, we've got a player like Idah and Maeda who seems to have the most incredible engine and endurance for being all over the pitch. Just unfortunately, as I've said in previous videos, it's sad that his final ball and his shot on goal isn't as good as his incredible energy, hard work, endurance, and amazing team spirit and teamwork factors. Talking of Idah and Maeda, he made a special effort, having lost the quarter-final with Japan at the weekend, to get back to London, then Glasgow, and then to training this morning. He apparently is fully fit, fully recovered from the couple long-haul air flights, and is available for selection, even as a starter for tomorrow's game against Hibs. Excuse me. Also, in the press conference, Brendan Rodgers said he was very impressed with Adam Idah, that he thought Adam Idah had all the skills, all the talents, all the abilities to be a top player, which is a wee bit of a contrast to the apparent analysis Rodgers had of Idah when he was signed as a last-minute loan deal. And it was interesting to see in various sources this morning that Celtic and Norwich do appear to be discussing a potential fee at the end of Idah's loan spell, and that apparently would be £3 million, which, if Idah does work out, is quite a reasonable amount of money for a player in their early 20s with 20 odd international caps. And as we saw at Aberdeen, he's a player with height, a player with a different style of forward play, a bit more of a target man, a bit more of an old-fashioned centre forward. Whoever he is, actually quite skillful on the ground, nice first touch, strong at holding off challenges, and does have a real ability to bring in fellow players. A wee bit reminiscent of a Chris Sutton or John Hartson in the good old days of Celtic in the early 2000s. The other player that was briefly mentioned as a potential starter for Wednesday, of course, was Idah Kuhn. He did come on and showed some nice touches down the right wing, and did, of course, score that deflected equaliser that put us back into the game. Rodgers was a wee bit non-committal as to whether Idah, Maeda or Kuhn would be starters or on the bench, but he did acknowledge that the skills of Idah Maeda does give us the option of playing. Idah Maeda is more of a target man centre forward, with Kyogo playing as an inside forward off of him. Does give him the option of having Idah up front and Kyogo as a roving attacking midfielder or deep lying forward, and does actually give Celtic, he said, the option of playing two up front. But it did sound like he was more looking at having one on the bench and one starting, and then, depending how the game went, bringing on the other as a late sub, either to consolidate the victory or to push on from a draw to a win or from a loss to a draw. But it was interesting to hear Rodgers discussing various different tactics up front, as I, for one, and several of you in the comment section and feedback have been suggesting Rodgers does seem very one-dimensional, set formation, set tactics, very little adapting to what the opposition have in terms of strengths and weaknesses, and very little adapting to what the other team do during the match to change the way they're playing or the way they're set up. He doesn't seem a very reactive manager, nor a very proactive manager, and both of those are disappointing. However, he was implying that team spirit was good, that everyone was in good spirits, and was very hopeful of getting things back on an even keel on Wednesday, and did also acknowledge that Celtic actually had recently been in good form, 6 wins and 1 draw out the last 7, but did acknowledge that very often 6 wins and 1 draw isn't good enough, and it needs to be 7 wins out of 7. And also, interestingly, did talk a wee bit about handling pressure, although he said at this point it wasn't really a matter of handling pressure because the finish line is so far away. It will be interesting to see if Rangers / Sevco do draw level with us over the next few weeks, quite how they cope with being at the top of the table with us shooting for them, and vice versa. Often with the way things are in terms of the way games are structured and scheduled, with them also having a couple of European matches and also games being chosen for Sky and Viaplay, etc. There may well be spells where we are playing on the Saturday, they're playing on the Sunday, and vice versa. So that certainly can be a factor, and did seem to be a factor in the 21-22 season when we came from behind to overall a similar kind of lead that Rangers had then, similar to the one that we had over them at the turn of the year. Just a couple of more wee bits of news. One bit of very encouraging news is Greg Taylor is now back in training, and there is a possibility that he may even be fit and able to play again at left back for us on Sunday at St Mirren in the Cup. But Rodgers said if that's not the case, he will be fit and ready and in the squad and in the team for the league match against Kilmarnock on the 17th of February, which I think will be a bonus for Celtic, as although Greg Taylor has been far from perfect at left back, he is miles better than Bernabe, and will at least give us a degree of solidity in defence and pushing forward into midfield and the final third. Other wee piece of news is that Paulo Bernardo is said to be keen to sign for Celtic in the summer. The fee between Celtic and Benfica would be £6 million, which does seem a reasonable amount of money for a player of his age, potential, skills, and past history. And so I think £6 million for Bernardo and £3 million for Idah would be very good business to start off our summer transfer window. Quite a few sites also indicating that Celtic pursued signing Kvistgaarden throughout the January transfer window, but Bromby rebuffed every single offer and inquiry. Bromby were thought to be wanting something like 9 or 10 million for Kvistgaarden in that winter window, but they decided to reject all offers from all teams and keep him for the rest of the season so that they have a best chance to win the Danish Super League and get into the Champions League next year. It does look like, however, Celtic will be going back in for Kvistgaarden in the summer, when a fee of around 6 million, possibly 7 million, will be the asking price, given the change of circumstances with it being a summer window rather than a winter window, with Bromby desperate to keep him to win the title. I, for one, would be keen for Kvistgaarden to come to Celtic. I think he's got a lot of talent, a lot of skills, and would bring a different sort of striker to Celtic, and would be able to score a lot of goals in Scotland for us, and also score in Europe for us as well. So that finishes things off for today. Just a wee reminder, earlier today popped up a little profile video for Polish left back Bartłomiej Dowczyk, young, very promising left back who ticks a lot of boxes for being the sort of left back that Celtic needs now and going forwards. So do give that a wee look if you haven't already. Remembering also each day there's a trivia question in the community section, and at the moment there's a little poll for us to rate Rodgers as a manager. At the moment, a few people saying he's excellent and elite, a few more thinking that he's great, and pretty much even votes for good, average and poor. I'll keep that poll open for several more days, or in essence for as long as there's an interest and people voting, and we'll relay the final results as and when. As always, if you're new to the channel and have enjoyed this video and enjoyed the other content, please do click that subscribe button, keep those numbers going up little by little, and there's the like button for those who've liked the video, and as always, do feel free to pop your comments regarding this video, Celtic issues, etc, into the comment section, and I'll reply as and when I can in the comment section or in future videos. So for today, chat again tomorrow when we'll do a proper Celtic Hibs preview video. Goodbye and hail, hail.